The Eagles have the worst quarterback situation in the NFC East because there's a lot of fluidity there in that division.
Not anymore. I mean, if Carson Wentz was still on the team, yeah, because for some reason they were attached to this guy. Maybe it was that awful contract. But he was undermining Jalen Hurts day of starts. He was fracturing the locker room. He was the worst starting quarterback in football all of last year until he was so bad he was no longer a starter. That's what happens to the last guy. He's a backup and causing a problem, but they're out of that now. And we'll see what we have with Jalen Hurts and whether they draft someone or sign someone, bring in someone to compete. We'll see, but I don't think you can call it the worst anymore. We know that if Dak Prescott's back with the Cowboys, that's the best. But you can't say the Eagles are worse off than Washington or the New York Football Giants. Washington, as of right now, their starter's going to be Heineke, who they signed to a backup contract. You know why? He's a backup quarterback, level guy. They're hoping he could maybe be more if they don't find someone better. And the Giants are a congenitally conservative organization who drafted a quarterback, but almost everyone considered it a reach at 6th overall in Daniel Jones, who showed some promise as a rookie, was 18th in QBR as a rookie. Hey, if he can figure out his turnover problem and get a little better in certain areas, but he regressed, if anything, in his second year. Certainly he didn't get better. He's 20th overall in QBR. And generally, things were down. His completion percentage barely nudged up. Far fewer touchdowns, more interceptions, a much worse touchdown-interception ratio, and generally just didn't show. You know, year 2 is supposed to be the development year. He certainly did not show that. And yet the Giants, if you ask around the league, they ain't planning on moving on from Daniel Jones. That's their guy. So the fact that they are that way and they're kind of reflexively conservative about this, we're going to stick with Daniel Jones. Think of how long it took him to get rid of Eli after it was clear that he was cooked. Means the Giants could have a worse quarterback situation if Jones continues to do what he's doing, which is not show growth. Washington could also have a worse quarterback situation. I don't look at Heineke or Jones and say, those guys are going to be better than Hurts. I don't know, but I do know that Philadelphia is out of the woods with the Carson Wentz situation, and that automatically means that they don't automatically have the worst QB situation in the NFC East.
I think they do. First of all, they only got one quarterback, and it's a guy that only completed 52% of his passes. I like Jalen Hurts. I like the potential, but we don't know if he's ready yet. That's number one. Number two, I mean, we don't know about their coach and what he's going to bring to the table as well. Doug Peterson is no longer there, and they've got a rookie head coach, so we'll see what he does. Number three, I look at a situation when I think about the rest of the NFC. I like Taylor Heineke. I mean, I know I only saw him one game, but you throw for 306 yards in a playoff game against Tampa's defense, led by Todd Bowles and those boys. I'm going to have respect for you, and I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment per se, but I did see potential. I did see moxie, and as far as I'm concerned, if you're dealing with tougher circumstances, although people get back and they watch film and they study you a little bit better and you don't catch them by surprise, that still was a tough situation for him to be in and for him to show up and play the way that he played, albeit for one game. Hell, that was more than Dwayne Haskins did in 2 years in the nation's capital. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. I'm also looking at the return of Alex Smith potentially, and I'm saying, excuse me, you've got some veteran leadership and you've got stability there with Ron Rivera as your coach. Dallas is Dallas, we understand that, but Dak Prescott is expected to come back, and Andy Dalton was a starter in the NFL for years in Cincinnati before he ended up in Dallas. So that's not a god-awful situation if they fix some of the parts around them. You look at the New York Giants with Daniel Jones, not impressed. I get all of that. But Saquon Barkley wasn't there. You know, what receivers did you have? I mean, and even though we were looking at Joe Judge, we saw a lot of promise. We saw a level of stability. We saw them improving each and every single game. We saw him suffering through some injuries, so there was some inconsistency here. He was in and he was out, etc. I think the jury is still out on Daniel Jones. All I'm trying to say is that Jalen Hurts can end up proving all of us wrong, and I hope that he is. I'm rooting for the brother. But at this particular moment in time, with the $33 million in dead cap space for the Philadelphia Eagles, with the exit of Carson Wentz and having only Jalen Hurts to rely upon and having a new coach in tow, in play there and what have you, I'm just looking at it and saying it's a tough situation for anybody to deal with, let alone a quarterback in just his second year in the National Football League. I think at this particular moment in time, it is plausible to look at the Philadelphia Eagles and say they have the worst quarterback situation of anybody in the NFC East.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.